In this video, we're going to do a simple photomontage using PIXLR and using the advanced selection tools. Now, with the previous video, we saw how we can use the rectangle and the ellipse, or the square and the circle selection. And these two here are the lasso select and the magic wand or wand select. These are some more advanced features that you have in PIXLR to select things in your composition. So let's get started here. And as you can see here, I just imported an image of a painting that I want to use as a foreground, and then I have a background there. So this is kind of the basic photo montage that you can do, the simplest photo montage that you can do. So I'm gonna delete this image just to show you how to do this from the beginning. So first of all, I want to show you this website, which is called RawPixel, and here you can find a lot of free content and public domain content that you can use, and you can get a background. You also have some PNG elements, and these don't have the background, so it's what we're gonna basically do right now with the selection tools. Well, this has been done already, so sometimes you will find the graphics that you need without the background. Other times you need to remove the background yourself, and you can do that with these selection tools. So let me show you also here. If you go to public domain and search for PNG, you will find some free PNGs images like this one here. So I will just take one of these just to show you that they don't have a background here. When you have this checkerboard, that represent the transparent background. So it has an alpha channel. So, well, let's select the resolution. Now, this is probably originally a vector graphic. So you can also download it in SVG, which is scalable vector graphic. And this is going to work in Photoshop or Illustrator, other software that support this format. But right now we're gonna download the simple PNG image. Now PNG images, they are not made by vectors, they are not scalable vector graphics, but they are made by pixels, and they have 4 channels of colors. So they have red, green, and blue, and then they have a 4th channel, which is called alpha channel, which is the channel concerning the transparency of the object. So when you choose a PNG or JPEG or something that is not scalable vector graphics, but it's made by pixels, composed by pixels, you should go for the biggest one. So you have a little bit of you can play around with the scale. You can scale it a little bit more, and you can make it bigger. So there you go. I downloaded the file. If I go back here in my composition in PIXLR, and I think I already have a selection activated, so I'm gonna right click here and deselect. So everything now it's fine. And so I can just click and drag directly from the bottom part of the browser here and drop it inside my document. And I have 2 options: to create a new document or to drop it inside the current document. And this is what I'm gonna do. So you can see it's really easy to insert, and it doesn't have a background, so I don't need to remove it to do this really simple photo montage. So when you find PNG images that don't have background, the job is pretty easy. Now let's see when things get a little bit more complex and you need to get rid of the background yourself. So if I go back to the RawPixel website, close this right here, and I'm gonna go to the public domain area, scroll down, and I want to use this painting from Leonardo da Vinci, which is pretty famous. It's the Mona Lisa, or Gioconda, so we can download it. This is a public domain free CC0 image, so you can use it any way you want. And this time we have 2 formats, TIFF and JPEG. Again, we're gonna go with JPEG, and well, choose the resolution that you want. But remember that if you get a small resolution, then you scale the image, well, that's gonna present some pixel problems. So always go for the biggest, which is pretty big here, by the way. But for this example, I'm gonna use the small. So I'm gonna download it. You can see I already downloaded, but I will download it again. And there you go. So let's get back into Pixel, click and drag and add current. And you can see it's smaller than the actual composition there. So I want to scale it, and this is the problem with pixels. So if you scale it too much, you will start to see pixels. The image will be more blurred, not defined as vector graphics. So this is the difference between vector graphics. Vector graphics can be scaled up or down many times as you want. They will never lose quality. Okay, you can see we still have snapping. These purple lines represent the border of the image and when it's going to snap exactly to the border of the page. So remember that you have a difference between the image itself and the composition or the page or the document. So also I want to show you some extra features in the option bar up there. So when you insert an image, and you can modify it, you can transform it by scaling, by using these grips here in the corners, or you can use these parameters up there. So this one represent the width and the height. So if these are bigger than the original size of the image, well, if they are extremely bigger, you will start to see pixels. If they are not so bigger than the original image, that's gonna be fine. But remember that you cannot exaggerate. At a certain point, you will see pixels. So basically, you can scale precisely here with the precise measures in pixels, or you can do this visibly here using the document right here. And this is always gonna tell you what's the new size, so you can keep an eye on that. And also you have the position right here. So x and epsilon, because we are working in 2D, so we're working in 2 dimensions, not 3D. We only have x and epsilon. Now in the digital world, it's a little bit different from the original Cartesian system. So in this case, the x goes from the left to right. So if I increase the number here, you can also click and scroll your scroll wheel. So if you underline and scroll the scroll wheel, you will see the pixels increasing and the image moving to the right. So this is the positive direction, and this is negative direction for the x. So for the epsilon, so the x is basically how it's gonna work also in the standard Cartesian system, but the epsilon, it's upside down. So if I go up with the epsilon, that's gonna be negative, and if I go down, it's gonna be positive. So this is inverted, let's say, compared to the usual x and epsilon values in other systems. Okay, so the digital world goes from left to right and from top to bottom, basically, when you arrange elements inside. Okay, so we have position, we have size, we have snapping, and everything's so easy here to get it right, as you can see. And I'm gonna also arrange it differently here in the layers. Then you have aspect. Aspect can be fixed or can be free. Now, if you use a free aspect, it's going to distort your image. You can enlarge it and make it really narrow. So it's like in the working with fan mirrors, but this is not, I think, a good practice to deform the image. So you always need to keep it the original proportion. So the width and height proportion should stay the same. So usually you will go more with fixed than free. And you can also unlock the proportions from here, the width and the height. You can unlock it or lock it from here. And then you have rotate, but well, actually I'm not rotating the layer that I was working with, so I'm gonna go back to the image. So you can rotate the image, which means you are rotating not the overall composition but only that layer. And you can rotate left, you can rotate right, you can flip it horizontally, you can flip it vertically, and that's it. Now be careful, because you have the image which is contained into the image layer, or you have the overall composition. In that case, you will go to page rotation. So in this case, we are rotating the page, not the image only, or a single layer. You are rotating all the canvas. So this transformation here, like flipping and rotating, are inclusive of all the layers that are inside the composition. Okay, now this one here is for animation. What it's pretty basic, so you can see it yourself. You can animate a layer and create a GIF animation, something really simple. It's not like working with video editing or nothing like that. These are just simple animations. And then you can duplicate the layer. Always be careful on what layer you are in. So I'm gonna duplicate this one. There you go. And then you have the possibility to delete it. And some extra settings here for the guides and the snapping if you wanted, or smooth scaling and auto select layers. So you have these additional settings, but we don't worry about those right now. Now let's proceed here and let's see the selections, the advanced selections. So to remove the background there, I have a couple of options. I can use the lasso selections, or I can use the magic wand. Now it depends on your situation. It's better to use one or the other. You always have the different modes, so to add or subtract to the selection. You always have sides for the brush, the selecting brush, and then you have always the feather to have smoother edges. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is the free lasso. Now this one, it's pretty useful if you have a really static and firm end. You can click there and start to take away parts of the image that you don't need. So for example, I can take away all this portion here. Remember that lasso need to be closed. So you can see here, well, I didn't do a precise job, but this is because I need to go fast right now, so I will just do this pretty fast, but not precise. But you can spend a lot of time here to make things precise. Now I'm gonna deactivate the underneath layer there, so you can see that there we have our transparent background, and you can also see the feather aspect there. So if you want to decrease it because it's too much, you can decrease there the feather, and then I can continue. So I can do this many times, so I don't need to delete all the background in a single session. So I can just go back and forward and delete some part. Okay, so I'm gonna delete also this really quick, and again, the more you will be precise, so you can zoom a lot here and be really precise. So it depends on your need. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit and let's see some more. So then we have the polygonal lasso or polygon. Now in this case will be less organic. It will be like more, you can see, straight with a straight corner. So this is good like for architecture or for well, buildings or things that are not organic shapes. Now you can also press ESC if you want to go back, if you think you did some mistake. Now if you use a really high feather, you can still use this to take off here some part of this image. So I'm just gonna go like that, close it up, and then delete it. You will see that with the feather it's not gonna be too edgy, also the polygonal lasso. So I'm gonna get rid also of this part here on the bottom right with the quick polygonal lasso, like that. I'm gonna get rid of all this area right here. Okay, let's delete it, and let's see some more. So you can also add here to the selection. So for example here, if I select first this part and then I want to continue here, not with a new selection but continuing with this, press ESC to go back one step. Okay, and let's close this up again. right there. So you can see it has been added. And if I want to, for example, save this little piece, I can subtract. So I can do the opposite and do like that. Well, maybe too much. So I'm gonna add again this to the selection. Okay, and let's delete it right there. Now we only have few parts here left, so I'm gonna show you the Bezier, which is pretty similar to the polygonal, but in this case we are not working with edgy lines but with curves. So first is gonna be edgy, and then you can click and make a curve. So for this part of the head, this is probably the best that we can use. There you go. Now I'm just gonna leave a little piece there to finish with another tool. Okay, so I close this, and then let's delete again. And sometimes you get stuck here. If you get stuck, just change tool, so you can like go back and forward. Okay, now let's finish with this one, and we have magnetic lasso. So right click, deselect, and then let's get the magnetic lasso. And maybe I want to fix this part. Now magnetic lasso works the best when you have a distinctive difference between the pixels in one part of the image. So in this case it's pretty okay, and then let's delete it. So for example, here we have a clear distinction because we have a bright part of the image, so brighter pixel and darker pixel. So it's for him it's better, so he can find better the difference between pixels. Now I'm not really a fan of the magnetic lasso. It's kind of sometimes get stuck there, so I don't really enjoy. I like more the polygonal one personally, but this is a personal choice. I don't like too much Bezier and magnetic, but they do the job. So here you have this difference. There you go, and we can refine our work many times. So if the more we zoom in, the more we can refine. You can see it works better here also because the head it's completely dark, and this part here of the background is completely different. Okay, now again deselect. So we've done a pretty good job. I maybe want to remove more from here, which is this thin veil of the character. So it's not my fault that it has that green part, but we can remove additional parts using the magic wand. Now if we have a pretty distinctive background, using the magic wand will be like a one-click operation. And in the PIXLR website we also find an additional tool. Let me show you here. So I'm gonna open up this PIXLR. Okay, so if you scroll down here in the PIXLR website, you also have this background removal tool, and we actually created another video for that removal tool, so look for it. It's basically the magic wand. So when you have a background which is completely different from the foreground, that's gonna be a really easy job. Sometimes it's gonna be more painful because the background tends to like blend with the foreground or the character, so it's gonna be harder. Now in this case it's pretty easy because this is now isolated, so if I click there you can see I can select it right away with just one click. Now the magic wand or the wand selection works with tolerance, so the higher is the tolerance, the bigger will be the area selected. Now here this is the maximum, so it's gonna take all the colors. 255 are all the colors in the composition, so it's gonna take everything from black to white. If you decrease this tolerance, it means it's gonna take only the parts which are gonna be similar to the pixel that you have selected, so in this case this green area. So if you increase this, it's gonna get more and more of the image until it gets everything. There you go. So right now, well, we can make some experiments on the rest of the image. So if I click there, you can see it's taking all the image, but if I decrease the tolerance, now it's taking all these like browns, and if I decrease it more, it's gonna take only that shade of pink and so on. So this is the tolerance. And then again, you have the feather, just like you have the feather before with the other tools. Also, contiguous will be only the parts that are not separated, and if you uncheck that, it's not gonna care about the gaps, and it's gonna get everything. So not only the contiguous pixels, but also the other ones. So if I increase that again, there you go. It's gonna expand the selection. If I uncheck, check contiguous, it's only gonna take those which are contiguous without the gaps. And then you also can sample the other layers or only the layer that you're working with. And I'm gonna delete that last piece. And that's it. Our job is done. Now we just need to place a background there. Now we have some extra things there. We can remove those like extra pieces. Now all we need is to have a background. So just adding this background here and the job is done. So this will be all for this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support us more, you can join as a supporter. Write your questions, suggestions in the comments, anything that can be helpful. So thanks for watching. See you in the next.